Welcome, and it's John C. Kingston. It's another Saturday, and I've got a bloody cold. How nice that is. So we're going to struggle on with a cold. May nip away for a coffee, as you can imagine, just to try and keep the liquid flowing. Should really go for beer, shouldn't I? I'm out of that, though. We're going to go through the score predictions for the championship in the EFL. We're going to start with the 12:30 kickoff, Swansea versus Southampton. That was a nice meaty one. And then we're going to go through using Sky Sports app down through the remainder of the championship games. We're going to be having a look at the different teams and what they've done in the January window. So if anybody wants to join me and have a chat, you can. We will be opening up. We'll either open up straight away the Swansea Southampton game and go through the Swansea Southampton game live as I watch it on the phone to the left there. And we will be looking at later on. We'll be opening up another video if anybody wants to see, which will be going through the goals as they come in. So we will have a live. We'll have a live at some point at 12:30. If anybody joins us and anybody wants to comment, then we may go straight through, or we may just stop and go bang straight into the break. Have a quick lunch break and then come back for the Swansea Southampton game. So we'll go through the Swansea Southampton game. The Swansea Southampton game is obviously a 12:30 kickoff today in the Championship. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure you can see I'm a Rotherham United fan. So unfortunately, we don't have much confidence at the minute. Just try and get the phone right. It's on charge at the same time as being next to the computer, so it's a little bit difficult. So we have got the Swansea game at the minute. What are the bookies saying? Obviously, the bookies are actually saying it's about 4.5 to 1. It's 9-2 for Swansea, 10-3 for a draw, and it's 3-5 on for Southampton. That may be a lot of the odds things you have to remember are set before, and they're set by people who look at the actual positions and the teams. However, close to the game, you start getting a lot of the betsters, in this case Bet365, don't want to lose money. So if you have a massive team like Liverpool playing a smaller team, for instance, when Cardiff went up to the Premiership, so you got Liverpool versus Cardiff, it will naturally say, well, Cardiff are high odds and Liverpool are the favourites. Not because they play better, but because there's more fans of Liverpool and there's more people who will bet on Liverpool. Certainly in the Premiership, Cardiff would have been quite an unfashionable team, rather like Rotherham in the Championship. So you start getting the fan-based alterations to the game, to the odds as they go through. I'm just pulling up the form. So at the minute, I should quickly go through the Swansea results. They drew against Birmingham 2-2 away. Not a bad. Actually, they did really well, I thought there. I actually quite fancied Swansea to be winning that, as I was commentating or looking through the listening to the commentator. It was quite obvious to me that Swansea were more than adequate at the back, and they could have got away with a win there, but they just didn't seem to fire as good as they could do. Is it a good draw? Well, it is, because Birmingham have been doing really well. We'll forget the FA Cup, although it was only a 2-0 win, but it's against Morecambe. West Brom at home, 1-0. Now, you would expect Swansea to be able to put up a good fight against West Brom. West Brom are actually playing really well at that point. So that's actually a really good 1-0 win. Coventry draw 2-2 on December the 29th. That's away. And at that point, Swansea were a little bit up and down. That's actually quite a poor 2-2 because Coventry were in the doldrums at that point, and they were just about to come out of the doldrums and start to play well. So excuse me if I start eating biscuits. And then the game that we will be looking at, the Championship game, 26th of December, Boxing Day, Southampton. Away, they lost 5-0. Now, to lose 5-0 against a team that you're going to play the very next month, not particularly brilliant. So we have to have a look at what Southampton are doing, because I don't think either of them have really... I don't think any of the Championship teams have really grossly changed their makeup in January. There's been a fair bit of movement, and there's been some really good players moved around. But moved around is the thing. You don't know how they fit in. You don't know if they'll play as well in their new team. And you've got people moving out as well as in. So... And like we always said from the beginning, this league is extremely skillful anyway, even if you do bring in skillful players. So Sheffield Wednesday, 4-0. Right, okay. They win Sheffield Wednesday, but it was at home, 4-0. Expected, yeah, that's probably expected. Walsall in the FA Cup, 4-0. Now that's actually similar. A similar sort of scoreline for lower and bottom of the Championship and League One type teams. So I think Walsall, that's probably quite a good 4-0 win, especially with it being Walsall. Norwich 1-1 away. Norwich hot and cold at Norwich. Yeah, probably quite a decent draw. Now we're going into December, where they weren't that good. Plymouth have been firing good all along, but not very good away from home. So they beat Plymouth at home 2-1. Yeah, that's not a bad result for them, considering they weren't playing that well. Swansea City 5-0 at home. That was the thing that we get back to, isn't it? And it's like, where did it come from? And how did it manage to come out at that particular point? I mean, we can have a quick look. So started off 17 minutes with Aribo. Aribo, glasses. 48 minutes, 74 and 87 minutes, and then 90 plus 3 from Che Adams. So Edozie and Fraser in the middle. I don't know. Let me kind of quick read to that. I just think that at the minute, see, my issue with this one is that we have Swansea are very, very cocky at the minute. I mean, Southampton are very cocky at the minute. Southampton, I live on the edge of Southampton, and actually they are very cocky, and the fans are very cocky as well. I've seen too many clubs, including Norwich, when they came to Rotherham, so cocky about winning. I mean, it was obvious they were going to win. It was just a case of how many. And I saw that on fans' websites before, saying, oh, it's not a case of if Norwich will win, it's a case of how many will score. And I think that's the sort of feeling here. And I can't help feeling that there's a chance that Swansea will just suddenly turn the table and stop the back end, just put 10 men behind the ball. I don't think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be one or the other. It'll either be Swansea by 1 goal, and I mean sort of 1-0, or I think it'll be, even though they're being very cocky, I think they should be able to beat them again. Don't think there's been much change. The only change is Southampton are actually now better than what they were when they won them 5-0, which is a bit dangerous, really. I'm going to go with a 3-0 win, a 3-1 win to Southampton. I think Swansea will be eager to learn at home, show that they can actually beat the Premiership class teams. So I think that's that one out of the way, and we will hopefully be watching that. Did have somebody on disappear. I hope you did stay. Anybody want any comments? Please do put them in. I've got live chat on at the minute. Nobody in there. So let's go to Huddersfield away at Blackburn, or Blackburn at home to Huddersfield. We have. We've got I look at Blackburn and I think in the Championship, well, I mean, let's look at the FA Cup. I want to look at the FA Cup. And I know I say we don't look at the FA Cup, but Blackburn lost, Blackburn won 5-2 to Cambridge. 2 goals they let in against Cambridge, who can surprise top-level teams. 2 years ago, Rotherham were going up, and they played Cambridge at home with a chance of going top of the league, of League One. And Cambridge were bottom of League One, and we lost 2-0 at home. Absolutely, last few games of the season. They do have a knack of doing it, and they are quite able to do that. But 2 goals from a team that really are top half of the Championship does show a little bit of poorness in defence. They lost last time out 4-1 away at West Brom, but they're playing quite well. They made a few decent change in formation, I think. I quite like that. They could only draw 2-2 at Rotherham, at home to Rotherham as well. And Rotherham really should have got away with a win there. And Hull City away defeat 3-2. Huddersfield. What did they do last time out? They lost 3-0 away at Huddersfield. And then they lost at home 2-1 to Watford. So actually, 1, 2, 3, in the last 4 league games on here, 5 league games. In the last 5 league games, they have won 0. They got 1 point from 5 games. Now, let's face it, they're on 32 points. They're safe. They only need another 12 points, and they'll be numerically safe from the drop. So another 4 games for Blackburn, another 4 wins. Can they do it? Yeah, I mean every team has a 6 match poor run where they win 0 and draw 1 or 2. And I just think that Blackburn are in that rut at the minute, probably ending it. and I would think that they're going to end it pretty soon. They are getting a bit of pressure from the fans. This is probably another negative for them, because fans can actually pull teams out of the doldrums, but they can also put them in it. They'll be very careful, Blackburn fans, what you wish for, because if you start turning on your own team, like Sunderland have the other day, so they lost, and all of a sudden it was you're getting sacked in the morning. It does not bode well for your team. I'm sorry. And then you look at Huddersfield. Wow, they drew against Plymouth, who have been doing extremely well. Okay, it was at home. Lost 5-0 against Man City, but there again, that's Man City, isn't it? And it was away. So, I mean, you could have been double figures, really, couldn't it? Then we go to another ex-Premiership side away, and it's 4-1. So you've basically done two Premiership teams, or two Premiership class teams about, let's have a look. It's within 6 days of each other, and you've let 9 goals in. That's not bad. Not when you're definitely a bottom half of Championship class team. They lost against Borough at home 2-1. Okay, you should be probably about right, that I should think. Like we say, the return fixture, they won against Blackburn. It's their last win, Blackburn, at home, 3-0, and then they lost to Norwich 2-0. Now, I don't know where that win came from. It was a really good win, and they just outplayed them. The thing with Blackburn is, and what we found over the last 2 years, is that they play a style and they stick to it. And if it's not working, they continue doing it. At Rotherham, they kept doing the kick and run football, trying to lob it over the defence. But the last few times they played, as we've put rather large defenders in, and you can lob it in as much as you like. We ain't gonna we're not gonna capitulate a lot of times. We will capitulate eventually, but it's not the best way to attack Rotherham. And similarly, it's the same thing with Huddersfield. They've got 10 men behind the ball, and they'll try and attack. They'll try and do a Warnock and attack you on the reply. But they don't. They just stop. They carry on doing the same thing, and they never change the way they do it. Assuming that they do exactly the same now, and try lobbing the ball and so, no, it will work. It will work. I can see the same result. I can absolutely see the same result. In fact, I'm going to say 2-0 because it's at Blackburn, but I think Huddersfield will win. And I think they'll win 2-0. I don't want them to, but I think they will. Bristol City versus Watford. Two teams that are very much hit and miss. Bristol City win against sides they shouldn't do, like West Ham, 1-0. And then, well, it was at home. And then they'll draw against them earlier on. Oh, right, okay, so that's a draw and a win against West Ham, and then they've lost against a poor Preston side, 2-0 away. But then they lose against Millwall at home, and then they can't beat in December when Birmingham wasn't that good. They could only draw 0-0 at Birmingham, and then before that they could thrash Watford at Watford 4-1. it's so up and down. It's unbelievable. But then you look at Watford, and it's the same. They could only beat Chesterfield 2-1. I think they came from behind in that one, and then they drew 3-3 at away at Plymouth. That was really good because Plymouth regularly score 3 at home, and to score 3 against them was really good at their ground. Really, really good. The defence is rock solid at home. Usually, they won QPR last time out 2-1 at QPR. Slightly less fluctuations, I think, in the Watford game. They tend to play quite well, but sort of middle to top class football. I'm edging towards Watford. I think it will either be a 1-1 draw or we'll see a 2-1 Watford win. Looking at how they've been, I just, I'm going to go for the 1-1 draw. I think that the buzz from the West Ham win will be just too much for Watford to take on. Borough Rotherham. Obviously, this would be Rotherham's first double of the season. I can't believe we're saying that. If you listen to New York Talk, which you probably don't, after the match they did a video, and they said we're waiting for the police to arrive and arrest Rotherham United for well, they worded it really well. Basically, daylight robbery. Yeah, for daylight arrest Rotherham for daylight robbery. But we won 1-0, and we were awful. Defensively, we were okay, but nah, not brilliant. Oh, I wish I didn't have this cold. But Borough seem to be one of these teams that when it doesn't go right for them, it doesn't go right for them. They've got Barlasser, one of Rotherham's. That's a brilliant product. And he was threading the ball through brilliantly. And then the last person to strike would be absolutely off target or totally useless. And you're thinking, well, how on earth? It's just not their day. I think they hit the post at least once. And it's, it became daylight robbery. I think see, nothing's happened with Rotherham. We've got a few people who are now starting to come back. And they can play really well. They played really well for 60 minutes against Norwich at home. So they can play excellent. They can wipe the floor with Borough if they want to. They haven't won away for 14 months. I can't see them really doing it, can we? I think it's a case of how many will Borough win by. Unfortunately, I'm going to go 2-0 to Middlesbrough. Norwich versus West Brom. Now, I'm astonished with West Brom because I didn't think they'd do well. They didn't make any summer signings, not really. Did they do any? If they did, they made them really late. I know near the end they'd made 0, and I put them mid-table because I just couldn't see them, perhaps even near the bottom because there's so many good teams in there. But they totally proved me wrong. They're doing really well. If we forget the FA Cup, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games and 1, 2, 3 wins, 2 defeats. It's and the defeats were against Borough and they were against Swansea, so both away, and they're away now. Thinking about that, just think about that because they pumped 8 goals in their last 2 games, including the FA Cup, and I think that's important because I think the odds always work. You always sort of see fluctuations in the odds for someone scoring certain number of goals. So over the season, it will even out at a certain number of goals per game. So the likelihood of them getting another 4 is actually quite low numerically because of the odds of you getting 4 of someone scoring in the Aldershot game and then scoring in the Blackburn game and then scoring again is actually quite amazing because that player will probably only score sort of 1 in 2, 1 in 3 games. So the number of goals they've scored actually lowers the amount of goals they may score this time. And for that reason, I still think that West Brom will win, but I don't think it's going to be a walkover. Norwich have an ability to defend well, but they don't score. But they don't defend super. I mean, in the last 6, they've let 0 goals in twice, way back in game 6 and game 5. Where it's 1-0. No, sorry, they lost those 2. So they haven't had a game where they haven't let 1 in the last 6 because it said 1-0, but it was away from home. So I think that similarly with them, they scored 2 and then they scored 3, and you think, well, I think it's going to be about a 2-0, or 2-1. I think 2-0 to I'm going to go 2-0 West Brom. A lot of people are going for a draw, and it may be, but at the minute it's all based. I think I'm judging that more on the the fact that both teams have been scoring really well, but as you meet together, that probably means, I think in this case, it doesn't mean they're both it's gonna be like 3-3 draw. I think it's more likely to stop them both scoring, and that they're sort of 1 or 2 goals at the back in defence is probably going to be where it's lost. Plymouth Cardiff. Now this is easy because if you look at Cardiff, Cardiff lost 4-0 against Sheffield Wednesday on the 6th. They lost 3-0 against Leeds on the 13th. And they won 2-1 away at QPR. That was in the last minute, hasn't it? Let's have a look. Can I have a look at that? 74th minute, they won that one. So I don't know. 2-0 defeat at home to Leicester. At home, they managed a 2-2 draw with Plymouth, and they're not that good away from home, Plymouth. They did win Sheffield Wednesday away from home 2-1. But then they lost 4-0 away from home in the cup. So it's weird, isn't it? And I think for that matter, you look at this and you think I can just see a 3-1 win to Plymouth. I can't see them not scoring 3 goals at home. You really can't. QPR Millwall. Millwall have been pretty poor of late. I just don't know how. I mean, if we go back to Stoke, on December the 23rd. They scored. It was 0-0, and they scored 0. And then we go forward. QPR home 0 goal. Yeah, no, 2 goals. Norwich at home 1 goal. So 0, 2, 1, 1. 2 but a defeat and 1 but a defeat. So they're scoring in every game, but they're not. They're just not. When they get goals, it's like they just don't lock the door, or they're just not. Let's have a look at that Borough one. Yeah, I thought so. They were first to score, so they were 1-0 up after 10 minutes, but they don't lock the door, and consequently, Borough scored on 38. Then they scored in the second half on 58, and then on 90 plus 5. And you're thinking, but that shouldn't have happened. If you're 1-0 up after 10, you have to be able to kill the game off, and I just don't see that with them. I just don't see it. I can see Millwall actually going ahead again, but QPR are very good in defence. If you look at the number of 0-0s they've had in the last dozen or so games, it's quite heavy. I think that you're going to see a QPR win, possibly 2-1. If not, it'll be a draw, 1-1, but I think it'll be a QPR win. Sheffield Wednesday, Coventry. Sheffield Wednesday made a couple of they've made a couple of really good signings. I think that we're going to be seeing Sheffield Wednesday get out of this. Although they did lose at Southampton 4-0. There's no bad feeling in that. They did actually do quite well. I actually thought they could get a couple of goals back, but they just didn't seem to have that finishing touch. Whereas Coventry have got their mojo back. 6 goals against Oxford, 6-2. And Oxford are actually quite a good side. I actually quite like the Oxford side. So, 6 at home, but I think they're starting to fire now. Before that, Borough 3-1 away, so they got 3 goals in that one. 2 in a 2-2 draw before that with Swansea. The last time they played Sheffield Wednesday, they won at home 2-0 after beating Sunderland 3-0 away. So they have been really good. I'm going to go very controversial here because I think both are firing like the mad. They're just totally insane. But Sheffield Wednesday's defence, that's what's getting me. Sheffield Wednesday's defence, I'm not bothered about the attack, and they've strengthened up in attack. But the defence is really good. The defence is top notch. And I think if they can score, then they can win. But they can score because they've got superb front line. And they've got 2 more people brought in. So I think that Wednesday will score. I think they'll score probably 2 goals, possibly 3. I'm worried about Coventry. I think Coventry can score 2 or 3 goals. I think Wednesday's defence is bloody good. I think Wednesday's defence I think it's going to be a battle of defences, and I think defensively, Oxford scored 2 against them. Leicester scored 1 against them, even though they lost, both of them. I think that the Coventry defence is slightly worse. I'm going to go for Sheffield Wednesday 3, Coventry 2. And again, I don't want that. And then finally, we have Stoke versus Birmingham. I think that I just look at I look at who they're playing. I mean, Stoke managed to get a 1-0 win at Rotherham, and it's like, how the hell did they do that? We got it into the final third and then just did nothing with it. So, and they couldn't get us. No, I don't. Birmingham were doing well, and then they've had a little bit of a blip. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see, a 6-game blip. I said this last time, I think, a 6-game blip, and I said, well, it's possible that Birmingham will win Hull because they've been on this 6-game poor run, which a lot of people say 6 games, and most teams come out of it after 6 games. Rotherham have been in it for 19, but 6 game, I think that they are out of it, and I think that they're now firing on all cylinders. I think Birmingham will come back to life now, and I think Birmingham will win that 1-0. So there we have. That's all of them. Yeah, we have all of them. You want to go to Sunday's Leeds Preston. Basically, I'm just going to go with everybody else and say Leeds. Leicester Ipswich. I'm going to say Leicester. I'm going to say Leicester by quite a margin. I'm going to say 3-0 to Leicester. I think people have found out Ipswich's method of play, because they didn't improve their team when they came up from League One. Their manager managed to get some amazing play from them. I mean, some of that they were dreadful in defence in League One, and they managed with the same team to get a brilliant defence. So actually, defensively, really good. But that's the only change that they've done. Physically made the same players play better in defence. No, I'm not so keen on that. I just don't see it working. Excuse me. So I think it will be. Yeah, I think it'll be an Ipswich will get a little bit of a thrashing, I think, against Leicester. Does mean that Southampton will possibly go possibly go second and leapfrog Ipswich. I think I could have done that last week, actually, but it didn't happen. So there we have it. That's our predictions for this week. It puts Rotherham firmly on the bottom. It puts QPR and Sheffield Wednesday neck and neck for those last 2 places. With 3 out of the bottom 4 sides winning. So Huddersfield, I think, could quite easily win that. Yeah, I think Huddersfield could win that. I just got a bad feeling about Blackburn. Just got a bad feeling. I keep going back to Blackburn, Huddersfield. And obviously I want, as a Rotherham fan, I want Blackburn to win. But I just can't see it. Just cannot see it. Just cannot see it at all. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have the bottom is going to be amazing. Go to the next game and we go to the top. We see that 58. They'll be above Ipswich on goal difference if Southampton win and Ipswich lose. They've already got a better goal difference anyway because of the Wednesday thrashing. So Southampton will be, I think, moving into that second slot. And Leeds will be coming up behind them. So I wish you well. I'm going to do a live in a little bit. I'm going to have a coffee. I'll come back in about 10 minutes and we shall be listening to the Swansea versus Southampton game. And I hope we get more than the one view. I don't mind. I enjoy doing it. Rabbit to myself.